Hello, it's us, it's you, we're here, together. Why are we here? For another exciting week on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, Argentina's number 5 television show podcast.
And I don't think we've kept that. I think we've been drastically falling since, but we're going to wear that badge proudly for the rest of our lives. Welcome to the show. You can officially support You Can't Disappoint a Podcast now on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the place to go to help us move this show forward, and there's all kinds of exclusive content, fun interaction, events with Steven and myself, and all types of ways to influence our show on a weekly basis. So please consider supporting us on Patreon.
If you want to get in on the action, make sure you email us your trivia, your MVP, and your funniest moments from that week's episode over to our email at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read it right here on the show.
We sure will, even if you beg us not to. Also, hang out with us on the socials every week off the podcast. You know, we're on Facebook and YouTube under our podcast title. You can also find us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter, where we probably do the most of our jovial lollygaggery at You Can't Disappoint. So come hang out with us over there.
Yeah, make sure you you smash that like and subscribe button.
Give us that attention that we so desperately crave.
Yeah, throw us your hearts, your wallets, and a couple kisses here and there, and we'll keep on pushing out this baby of ours that we call You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
The show's gonna last 3 weeks!
6 seasons and a movie! We came into season 2 of Community as boys, and we're leaving as what? Boys, bigger boys, or men? Have we become men yet? Have we graduated to man?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I kind of sometimes I'm like, you know what, we're men now, but we're not. There are things that remind me. Somehow you remind me I am not yet a man.
This is the type of stuff you don't get on your regular episode-by-episode community analysis. You need the bonus episodes for this type of stuff. Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. I'm Zach, and I didn't come up with a joke for my name. I put zero thought into what I'm saying right now. We finished Season 2. We're here to celebrate Season 2 of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast and Community, and that's fun, isn't it? Who else is here?
And I'm Steven, and I had something, but funny enough, Zach just said it. We did just finish Season 2 of Community, and we're here to talk about it.
That was your thing? Your thing was just going to say it?
No, I was just making it up. My thing was saying that you took my thing, but you didn't have anything, so it didn't play too well.
Welcome to the show, everyone. It's a little bit different this week. We're coming at you on a Wednesday, so I'm so sorry you had to go 2 days without us. I'm sure it was tough. But it's worth it, because what we're here for today is super exciting. I was really, really, really looking forward to this.
Yeah,
I
wet myself like 6 times today in preparation because I was so
Is that
excited.
more than usual?
Yeah. Normally I keep it at a smooth 2.5. The half is just a little dribble, but I was just so hyped all day. Like I taught a little bit. But on all my lessons, all I could say was, hey, you know what I'm doing tonight? I do a community podcast. Do you like Community? I talked to Joel McHale once. Ha ha! And they're like,
how many times have you had that conversation? How many times have you said that to someone that you've just met?
In different words, a few. I definitely mention that we've interviewed Joel McHale whenever I tell somebody about the podcast.
It's a cool thing to brag about. If anyone's willing to listen, we'll say it.
If they've made it this far into the conversation, they're game.
Welcome to the show, everyone. It's been a great season. I think this podcast achieved new heights across Season 2. And I
am a little taller. Thanks for noticing.
I hadn't. Thought maybe you got glasses or something, but then I realized that you hadn't ever worn glasses.
Except that time I wore yours for like half a day.
Did you?
I did.
I don't remember that. Was that a high school thing?
It was not.
It probably should have been. Well, this is exciting, and I've been looking forward to this for a while now, and we've got to start off the show. We couldn't be ending Season 2 without shouting out the man of the hour, every hour, the man who haunts my dreams, both in a seductive way and in a authoritative kind of way. That is our community papa at Communities on Twitter. We wouldn't be here without them. You know it. You love them. Thanks for supporting us.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna say a sentence I never thought I'd get to say.
Okay.
Thanks, Dad, for supporting me.
Our relationship with Communities is 100%. Hey, Dad, I'm not your dad, and it is the healthiest father figure relationship I've ever had. I ever dreamed of having.
Probably ever will have, really.
Definitely,
including
ever
with
will
my
have,
future children,
with our own children,
because they're screwed.
Communities will be their dad as well, because I'm not.
If he'd have him.
So thanks, Communities, for retweeting this bullshit every week. And also let's shout out our $10 and up I always want to say Patreons. Our $10 and up Patreons at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. That is Brian Thurman, Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, and new to the list, Melissa LaPena.
Welcome, Melissa. Thanks.
Let me know if that's the right way to say it or not.
How's it spelled?
It's LAPE.
Ooh, the Inye is there. La Peña. I like that.
La Peña, right?
That's La Peña. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks to everyone. If you'd like your name wrongly said on our podcast every week, become a $10 and up patron at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. All kinds of exclusive podcasts, our weekly live pre-show, You Can't Dis a Pre-Show, and things like what you're about to listen to right now. Our patrons got to live stream it as it happened, so that was cool.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be able to experience life right alongside us instead of on a few days delay. And if you're somebody who, when something's happening, you need it now, like you need it now, come on over to Patreon.
If I didn't need it before, I need it now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it. And use it to come on over and join the family at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast.
It really does help. I am looking to, use our Patreon to really get my drug career started. I feel like I've got the drive. I just don't have the supply.
Yeah, scared money don't make no money.
Build it up.
So
right, but no, I really want to build this up farther. We've built it up pretty far, but I want to be able to, turn this into a more functioning studio. I want to do more shows. I want to bring more people into this thing. My goal is for You Can't Disappoint a Podcast to be kind of a branch off into a little bit of a podcasting network with a couple of little things. So every $1 that you're willing to give us over at Patreon helps a lot. But let's not waste any more time. Today was really fun. It was super fun.
Yeah, we're speaking from the present right now.
Yeah, we're talking about what everyone's about to listen to, which is our season 2 roundtable.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, Zach. I really
Steven
can't
has
wait
no
to get
idea what we're introing right now. It's 10 o'clock at night.
That was so much fun. It was great getting to talk to those guys, and it was kind of a surreal moment just because, they're friends that we've made through this and people that I do consider friends. They're awesome, and
we've
they
hung
do
out
great
with
work. And
all of them enough times now to where it kind of does feel like being in a room of friends. And we've known these people because of this for about a year through this show, and it is comfortable and fun to get them all together. And we really, I believe, have a star-studded cavalcade of community podcasters.
Your vocabulary tonight is just handsome. It is great.
Thanks.
Nice work.
I really appreciate that. Yours has left something to be desired.
Often does.
Yeah, but we've got a really star-studded lineup. Really, I think I say it in the special, but any group of community podcasters would be a great conversation. But I think we've got a pretty solid brain trust of some of the finest names in the community podcasting business. We've got Alex Burdine from 6 Seasons in a Podcast. We've got TV's Kevin Lanigan returning from Advanced Community Studies. And we've got both halves of the Save Greendale Committee, Ed and Bo, all great friends. We're glad they're here to join us. And I think it's time. I think we need to let the people hear the conversation. What do you think?
I think it's time to unleash this upon you. Let's unzip that audio trouser.
Oh, the audio. Okay, sure.
Audio trousers.
Sure.
And let
pull
loose.
out some thick, meaty podcast action. Let's get into it, piggies.
So meaty.
Oh my god,
That's
what is
a
that
soup
from?
reference. The soup.
The soup. Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course. So meaty.
So
Let's do this.
meaty. Yeah, have fun.
You're not even a dad, Bo. Are you a dad?
I am the father of 2 young feline boys.
Okay. I'll give that. You're practicing if you ever want real human.
Real feline boys.
I've decided I'm going to start walking, like, anytime I introduce my partner to anyone, I'm going to say I'm the beautiful mother of my children, and then just have people, and then not have a follow-up. Like,
That's
That's
great.
really funny. Would you like to meet them?
oh, they're
got
back
that
in
the
the
same
house,
way
we
with
don't
our
let them
cats.
leave.
Our cats are our everything. You know, who needs kids when you've got the love of a feline?
I saw a post
Yeah?
that said that plants are now pets, and pets are now kids, and kids are now exotic pets.
Yeah, I think as a society we've moved past the need to procreate, right?
Yeah.
Who needs
Yeah.
that?
Soon there will be robot children for us.
There we go. I would kill for that.
Honestly,
Why?
okay, remember the Sony robot dog?
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Like, where did those go? And why don't I have one now?
They're waiting. They're lying. Their time will come. The
Somewhere
rise
under a
will
bridge like
soon be
iRobot,
upon
there's
us.
just
As soon
thousands
as
upon
someone turns
thousands
on
of
an
those dogs.
iPod Nano, they're all taking over.
It's
They're
over.
just waiting.
I mean, I love the idea. There's the whole, the singularity will come about because of an update, and like the people that pushed out the update, it'll be like, oh, we gotta fix this glitch, and then that'll just give Siri sentience.
Yeah.
Like,
Cool.
I love that, but for the Sony robot dogs.
I would love to live in that world. I'd feel safer somehow.
Exactly.
So you
I
haven't
think they
seen
handle
Mitchell?
I have.
Mitchell versus the Machines.
Yeah,
Oh, I
clearly,
have.
'cause-
Oh, I
yeah.
haven't seen it
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Is it great?
Oh, it's
It's
really
quite
good.
good.
It's the Spider-Verse. Don't the
Yep.
Spider-Verse people have something? Is it
Yeah.
Some
really?
Lord
yeah.
and
It's in the
Miller or
Spider-Verse?
other
Yeah,
people?
It is.
same animation
It's
style, pretty much. Like not
just-
not same, but like it's the same level of flash and the same level of like every second your eyes are just being like
I
Nice.
get it.
overstimulated.
just-
It's fantastic.
Just like Spider-Verse is a movie directed by 3 people who are not Lord and Miller, but always gets brought back to Lord and Miller,
Sure.
so too is Mitchell's versus the Machines. Where, like, yeah, their names are on it, but, like, they weren't there every day in the bay, just like, all right, can you move his arm 1 centimeter up?
I
his
did
way?
not know that they didn't direct Spider-Verse. Yep.
No, it's
That's
3
like-
other guys.
It's like one of
Wow.
those things where I don't know how many times, and I shouldn't be the one to like die on this hill, but I'm like, Nightmare Before Christmas wasn't directed by Tim Burton. His name's
Yeah.
just on it. He wrote a
I
poem
take up
or
that
took
cross
some
in
pictures or something.
in my life as well. Yeah.
And
I
couldn't I,
didn't
just
know
like let
that,
people
but I
have
also
that?
rarely have conversations about The Nightmare Before Christmas. But like if someone put a gun to my head and said, "Who directed Nightmare?" I'd be like, "Tim Burton." And then I'd die. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if someone put their gun to my head and asked me who directed it, I couldn't tell them. I could say it's not Tim Burton.
I am apparently the only one who would survive in this conversation, and
Okay.
I take that knowledge with me every day. Henry Selick, you fools.
Kevin's actually holding the gun, which is what
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah, absolutely. This is some extreme movie trivia. Are you ready? Name the 3 directors of Into the Spider-Verse. None of them are Lord or Miller. Name even one.
Please, I have kids. Let me go. I haven't.
Stan Lee.
So did the directors of Spider-Verse, but you don't even find that.
Well, what
Rodney
a way to
Rothman.
what a way to start this. I
Yeah.
like this. This is great.
Threats of murder and
Yeah.
harm.
You know who else was in? No, not actually him. I was Prowler. I was trying to make a Donald Glover.
Ah.
Well, Spider-Verse has a frame of him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Right?
From the first episode of season 2 of
yeah,
Community.
he's on TV.
Wow,
Really.
look at that. Bringing it to the beginning of the circle that we're beginning.
Amazing.
We're talking about season 2 of Community. I've been super excited to do this because I feel like, I don't know, any gathering of community podcasters would be a really great show, but I feel
Yeah.
like this gathering of community podcasters that we've got tonight is pretty high quality, and I think it's gonna be something, whatever it is. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think you could do much better than the fine folks we've gathered tonight.
We've really got like a dream team. Move over, Shaquille O'Neal. Our new starting center is
Not on the dream team. Not.
Never on the Dream Team.
I'm thinking more like
Not at all. It
move
was Patrick
on.
Ewing. Yeah,
Bruce
that's fair.
Springsteen and President Barack Obama's
There we
podcast.
There you
That's
go.
called.
There you go.
Wait a second. What?
All right, hold on. I have a gun again.
No.
Let's name the 5 members of the Olympic Dream Team. Everyone ready? The gun is back.
Okay.
Michael
Magic
Jordan.
Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, and was it Karl Malone?
I maybe not Malone, but otherwise
Malone.
exceptionally well done.
Thank you.
Jordan Johnson, Barkley, Charles
Barkley. Charles
Yeah.
Barkley. Charles.
Sir Charles.
Jordan Peele.
I
Jordan
know some
Peele.
of those names.
Bill
They were in
Murray.
Space Jam.
Bill Murray. There we go. Bugs Bunny, Donald Duck were important.
Not Pepe Le Pew.
There we go.
Newman from
It's not so easy,
Seinfeld.
is it, Zach?
Newman from Seinfeld, yeah.
It's
He's
not
one
so
of my
easy.
favorite basketballers.
He was great.
Let's give some introductions because people might be like, who am I listening to right now? We've got, 4 different podcasts on here right now? It's great. We've got Alex from 6 Seasons in a Podcast. What one could say maybe is the granddaddy of all the community podcasts. We're glad to have you here. How's it feel to hang in with the kids?
Geriatric, I suppose. I am drinking a granddaddy type beer, so that works.
There you go.
Works.
Mazel.
Yeah.
How have you
good.
been?
Thanks.
What's
I'm-
going on
me?
over on your show? You still got new episodes coming out?
Yeah, I've got episodes to edit, and I've been, not to take us to a place, but
Let's do it. Let's
it's
go
been-
wherever you want to go.
No, I've been struggling to get them done just because I'm tired. So it's like I did like 12 episodes in a row, and then I have like another 3 to do, and that's just a long patch of like doing. I don't know. It's different. I do a different thing than you guys, and you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, so yeah, it's a lot.
I'm sure we can all relate to being like, well, this has to come out, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
so
sure we've all been there.
yeah. Well, maybe it's the same thing then, and
Well, I think
Sorry, Alex. You unfortunately are not special. We have to break it to you today.
then who else we've got? We've got returning, the only returning visitor we have today. We've got TV's Kevin Lanigan, Advanced Community Studies. You guys are getting close to wrapping up Community, aren't you?
We are tomorrow night. We're recording our episode about advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
So we're taking these last 2 seasons slow. They're like underappreciated, so we're not doing 2 at a time as often. We're trying to like take it out in chunks, really like
Sure.
piece this stuff apart. Many happy returns. Thank you for having me back. Alex started Can Check. I'm having a little gin and juice with lemon and ginger. Having a
Nice.
great
Tasty.
time over here.
Beautiful.
Cheers. Salud
some
mi
water.
familia.
Tap water.
Sounds great.
They're coming for me.
Got a gin.
Do you guys have any plans for what you're going to do after you've finished Community? Does the show end or does it continue on in some form?
We've had ideas, so I don't want to talk about anything
Sure.
super specific. We did, as sort of a break before season 4, we did season 1 of The Witcher. Just sort of covered that
Nice.
show.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Which, because, like, our lust for Henry Cavill has been a main facet of the podcast from, like, the very
understandable.
beginning. So we did The Witcher. So if season 2 of The Witcher decides to come out around that time, that would be very advantageous. I threw out one suggestion that I don't know if I'll say here. I'm retracting
fine.
it now because I'm like it's too somehow a show created by someone even worse than Dan Harmon, if that's so anyway, no firm plans yet.
Okay, well, that sounds interesting.
Sorry, too much
Well,
information.
off the cuff later, I want to know who you're talking about.
Sure. I'm happy to throw Joss Whedon in a trash can right here on this very live stream.
Okay.
That'll do it.
He can live
Yeah.
in the sewer.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And we've got Ed and Bo. We've got both halves of the Save Greendale Committee, which is great. We've had the pleasure of showing up on your program a time or two, and now you're here with us, and we're glad you're here. How's it going?
It's good. Yeah. We've had you guys on, and Zach, are on 2 episodes that I've yet to edit because, like Alex, I'm tired. It's a lot of work. But yeah, no, we've got a lot coming out soon. We're the only 2. I'm sorry, there are sirens and stuff. It's too hot for me to close the windows. I apologize.
That's okay. I understand that completely.
But yeah, the only 2 episodes we have left to record in season 2 is the paintball finales. So we're
Nice.
not far behind you guys.
Yeah, and I can't wait to
And,
see how the season wraps up, honestly. I've never seen the show before.
Never seen it
This is
before?
just-
No spoilers today on this roundtable
I
discussion.
thought we already watched the one paintball episode. I thought that was it.
Well, that's cool. So have you all adjusted well to having co-hosts and to it not just being a one person driving the train? Has it been nice to have Bo along on the journey?
Yeah, he joined officially like a little before halfway through the season, I think.
Nice.
But Bo, you had been like my most reoccurring guest before that anyway, so he was pretty familiar to the show already, and so most of the real help has been behind the scenes with like organizing and like actually having meetings to talk about when we're going to record and things like that. So
Yeah,
we
I
can
asked
actually have a
Zach
backlog.
to ask you that question as like as an evaluation period on the podcast, so that I
Nice,
can know
yeah.
your true feelings.
You've
Me and
you've been great so far. You get a B+. Because, you got to have
That's
something
a better
to shoot
grade
for.
than I normally
You
get
gotta
on
have
our
something
show.
to shoot for.
So
Me and
you do it
Steven
well,
have
Bo.
this meeting every week, and it's like, all right, come on my lap. You've got to receive
What?
a couple lashings for your performance this week.
Yeah, my performance reviews
Okay.
get very
Not
physical.
come on my lap. Come to. Well, I guess
Well, on a
Said
good
it.
week.
that was a Freudian slip. On a good week, yeah, on a really good podcast. Like, man, we really dived into the truth of mixology certification this week.
Wow.
Now you know
And
what
Alex
to
has
do.
left the room.
We scared Dad.
Oh, doggo! No, this is good. Good tidings. Good
Now
tidings.
joining the show, we have Alex's dog. Alex's dog, quick question. How you doing? How was your journey here? Was the traffic bad coming down the stairs?
She was clawing at the door like it was. I don't know. She was gonna bust through it. She's an
Maybe she has
anxious
some
little
hot
dog.
traits.
It's like I don't get it. The beagles. I don't know.
Like,
What's
it's a big
happening
show, and she may be a little nervous. You're among friends, sweetie pie.
Yeah, she knows Joel McHale's been here before, so she just wants to live up to that. Well, okay, so let's talk about season 2 of Community. Obviously, it's something that we've all seen and enjoyed and analyzed thoroughly at this point. I think it's the easy answer to what is the best season of Community. Do you guys, do you all hold that true, or do you think there's more of an argument to be had?
Yeah, I hate to be basic, but this is the one. You know,
Right.
like it was hard to put together like what are the 3 worst episodes of this season? These 24 episodes, most of which are at least like a B+. It's just like an incredible batting average that this season has. It's unbelievable.
I don't know exactly what the string of episodes is, but looking at it, something from cooperative calligraphy to... Oh, no, maybe that's not. From Advanced... I don't know. There are a couple of runs
There's,
of
like, really
episodes
strong
that are
stretches.
just banger after banger, and they're not turning in any, just kind of slept on, just dashed together episodes. Everything is really high quality. I do think there's about 3 or 4 episodes that kind of sit on the bottom of the season, personally, especially going over it this time. But it's almost harder for me to decide what the top 5 are, because I have to leave out some episodes that would probably be on my top 10, 15 of the entire series, because there's so many good ones in the season.
It was tough. It was tough for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
I don't know if I
together-
totally agree, but I don't have an opinion strong enough to fight what you guys have.
Well,
to say.
well, you can't be a tease. What do you mean?
Season 3 is. I mean,
Season
how
3 is
do you-
great.
I mean,
How
pretty
do you-
good, you know?
I don't know. I mean, the Christmas episode's better.
I agree with that.
The Halloween episode is pretty good.
ABBA.
It's
ABBA,
pretty
how
good,
much
it's not
ABBA
better.
is in the other one?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Remedial Chaos Theory, hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
that's, good episode.
Right.
No one's on the other side of this issue.
But yeah, but what else is hanging out over there? We've got like
Virtual
advanced
system
gay.
We've got
Virtual
Troy
system
and Britta
analysis.
together. Come on, come
Yeah.
on.
That's
Okay.
not kind of.
Law
at the
and
end,
The funny
yeah.
thing that I think when you watch like season 2, like knowing what happens in season 3, I personally feel like I've been vocal about this on our show, but like I have been like a Jeff and Britta like ship person. Like I think that they should have been together.
Ship person.
But during the teases that you get of the Troy and Britta relationship in season 2, knowing that I don't like it in season 3, I see it in season 2 and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like it's nice.
They do just barely play around with it a tiny amount in just like an episode or two
Yeah.
of season 2, and it is kind of cute. I don't know. The season does a good job. Is it in season 2 or is it season 1 where they all look at each other and are like, any of us could have sex with any of us at any time?
That's season 1.
But I feel like season 2 kind of lives up to some of that and some of it.
Yeah.
And some of them do.
Some of them almost have babies.
So what is it that makes season 2, with Alex notwithstanding, what that makes it probably the best season of Community? What is it? Is it the like themed episodes that go so far out? Is it the more grounded episodes, or is it that there's a mix of the two, or that it's cohesive? I don't know.
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
Because I'm falling on the fence of I think what actually hurts season 3 is having the story of Chang taking over.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree.
And I think that's the difference between season 2 being great because they spend more time on, I don't know, you get critical film studies, like, you know, Jesus, I can't speak. Unadulterated. That's the word.
Yeah.
Episode of like, there's no other anything else going on, right? And you've got like, I mean, I suppose I could have said bottle episode, but I wanted to go with the word I couldn't pronounce. And you get better finales in season 2. So I don't know. You guys are right. I'm sorry.
I like the season 3 finale a lot, and I'm not exactly the biggest champion of the season 2 paintball episodes. They're not near the bottom of the season for me, but they're not near the top either. It feels one of the few times where Community's like, okay, we're gonna do that again, and I don't know, I could do with or without that. Not that they don't do it well again, or maybe even better, but it still feels like we've seen this kind of before.
Well, I feel like when it comes to Community is not one to not repeat itself. Like, I feel like that's part of the appeal of the show, like being able to point out the references. But I feel like the season 2 finales, like the 2-part finale, instead of like, oh, we've done this before, we're going to put a twist on it, it's, oh, we've done this before, we're just going to make it bigger. And that doesn't necessarily add anything to the show. It just makes it like, oh, cool, it's paintball, but for 2 episodes now. And like relevant celebrities that if you didn't watch Lost at the time, like Josh Hall he's just some dude with a big chin.
Steven had no idea who that was.
I didn't know it was anyone from Lost. I was like,
I was hyped, but like,
oh yeah.
Even seeing that, I was like, oh, this is like, this is so just for me that it feels dirty and selfish.
Yeah, I just rewatched that half of the paintball finale, and he really like, it's such stunt casting, and he's kind of in and out of the episode. I think it takes up too much of a chunk of that episode, and I think I prefer the second half, the Star Wars run. One, because I just prefer the reference to westerns, but it's also just, I think, more creative than like it's not like the vibe of the A Fistful of Paintballs is more like Modern Warfare to me, and that it's like it's all like it's like everyone's hiding out, like everyone's scattered versus A Few Paintballs more gives them like a different goal. It's not about winning the game in the same way. It's about like, it's like the war, you know, it's like they're actually like fighting like with more of a purpose. So even though kind of more of the character story with Pierce and everything is in the first half, I think the second half stands out more to me as like just the more creative use of the paintball setup.
The first half, definitely for Annie, though, is a very strong showing. Annie is such a badass in the first half of the paintball finale. But I do think the second half is a stronger episode. What were you going to say, Kevin?
Oh, I was about to say exactly the opposite of what you two
Don't say
just said. But I go to bat for Fistful. You know, I will say, like, in high school when it came out, I was all about Few Paintballs more. But, you know, as I became more and more pretentious about film, I was like, Fistful of Paintballs is just, like, on an entire... Like, the style of that episode is on a whole other level. The secret setup that they're doing throughout the entire episode about the card game, and, like, everyone's cards come back and play off in that huge way. It's the culmination of, like, this Pierce story, and to a lesser extent, like, a Pierce and Annie story that they've been building for like 17 episodes, you know, of this season. And as someone that watched Lost live, I'm totally in the tank for bringing like the best character from Lost onto Community. Like it was so thrilling.
If I can step in before the, I think you meant the best like candidate for like if someone from Lost was going to be in Smash. like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I think
because,
if I
like,
was going to import one Losty to Smash, I think I would choose Desmond. I think his final Smash would be more impressive.
But you get my point. Like
Absolutely.
I was about to tangent into a full-on Lost. Like, well, if you get into like Ben Linus's and like John Locke's whole philosophy,
Ben Linus, best character on
Ben
the
Linus, incredible character. No one is arguing this. Anyway, this is a Lost podcast. We're hijacking it.
I like
I was
Curly
gonna say,
because he was
first
on a
25
Wii.
episodes of Lost, and that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, I gotta start watching Lost so I can understand conversations
I
on
watched
community
some
podcasts.
of it in high school, got really into it, and then at a point just stopped, and I never picked it back up. But I need to for sure.
Maybe
I
Zach,
just
it's
rewatched
because
it.
you were lost.
No.
Womp, 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 womp.
that's JJ
That's what
for
the
you.
show's about, right?
Yeah, as someone who just rewatched it over like a year and a half after like a decade away, holds up. Good show. Check it out sometime. Lost.
Okay.
If you take anything away from this, it's that Lost is worth watching. I don't think enough people have said that. It's good to be on the record. Too many people are afraid to say that, I think.
The ending
Lost.
is great. It was great the whole
cape.
time.
Even better, the leftovers. So
I don't.
Is that a spin-off from Lost?
No,
Not at all? Okay.
No, it's
Because I
just-
thought that they were
it's the
lost and they found
leftovers.
some of them, but then they
Yeah, it's the
didn't find all of them. And so they were leftover lost people.
Yeah.
From Lost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have no
That is-
idea what happens in the
It was
show.
like
other than
Lost
plane
the
crashes
college
in the
years.
first episode.
Lost Med School.
Chicago Lost.
Lost PD, it's great. There's a whole.
If I made an After Mash joke, would anyone recognize After Mash? Alex, I'm counting on you here.
I recognize MASH. I assume
did
After
MASH
MASH
not
is
go
what
long
happens when
enough
they
that
come
they
back
needed
from the
something to
war.
happen afterwards?
Yeah, the 11 seasons of MASH was not cutting it. So
There's
they
still
then
story to tell.
I
They
mean,
didn't-
if your series finale is watched by a billion people, you're gonna try to make a Joey.
still
That's just
like
how
the
it works.
most people of all time. Like nothing will ever be more watched than the finale of MASH, and they're like, people want more MASH, obviously.
Like,
So
oh, you
let's
guys
take
like
3
this?
characters, and they work at a hospital now or whatever. Like, that was after MASH. It was
Trapper
bad.
MD.
It didn't.
Trapper
Trapper
MD.
John MD also.
Yeah.
2 spin-offs of MASH.
Wow.
And they both did great. They both lasted just as long as the original.
Trapper MD,
Yeah.
I think, did well.
Trapper
I
did
thought.
okay.
Yeah.
I've at least heard of Trapper MD. I didn't know it was a MASH
Alright.
thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now I know.
Well, that was
So I
enlightening.
should start with that one, right?
So
that's
why
MASH.
don't
Start
we
with Trapper
segue?
MD.
Why don't we segue into some of the ranking stuff we're gonna do? Let's talk about our bottom 3 episodes. Why don't we kind of go around and each give each placement at a time? So we'll do like best worst to worst.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, Alex, you looked confused before I
Yeah.
said anything.
I was
What's
going
up?
to make a power bottom joke, but
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
There's still time. The floor is yours, please.
Yeah.
no. I was setting it up in the DMs earlier today. I was like, oh, I totally have a power bottom joke in here. And then I just was like, no, I'm going to make a power bottom joke. It just
Writing
I
down
didn't-
in your notebook. Oh, there's a joke in here somewhere. I'm
Yep,
gonna
there
find
is.
it. Give me a second.
Give me a second.
Don't eat the crab dip. Yay, yay.
Okay, so let's go third worst. Who wants to open it up?
I'll say it. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. I don't like this episode.
Whoa!
Wow!
I
Whoa!
don't.
Whoa!
I
Okay,
just-
let's.
I'll start it.
There is a
You sure you're
vacancy
reading
on
from
the
the
Save
right
Greendale
list?
Committee
Yeah.
podcast.
Wow.
If anyone
I'm just
wants
gonna
to
be
listen.
real.
Well, everyone,
Guns
let's be
hot.
civil. We all
No.
have some. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas isn't in my bottom 3. It's not one of my favorite episodes, honestly. I'd like to hear why you think it's worse than just about everything else in the season.
I acknowledge what I'm about to say is a me problem. It's a dumb thing to say, and
Okay.
if ever someone like if basically like if I was on the other side of this argument, I would disregard what I'm about to say. So I'm okay being the wrong one in this podcast.
Okay.
Claymation
me
is
for-
just so hit or miss for me. And with this, it was such a miss that like even like I obviously like it's a great season and like I don't like dislike this episode. It's just my least favorite because like it gives me the most barrier to entry. Like it just like
It's
it,
almost maybe how some people are with the puppet episode. You turn it on and it's a puppet episode, and you're like, I don't really want to watch this. I'm not saying that I don't like the puppet episode, but I can see that when you turn it on to watch an episode of Community, base level, maybe be like, oh, I don't really want to watch this one. I'm not exactly that way, but I guess I can I really want to give you some credit here.
No, the
I'm trying
Belt
really
Surrogacy
hard.
is like a perfect comparison because it is the idea of like I can watch. I always butcher the Halloween episodes. Like I can watch those and be, oh, this is still an episode of Community. It's just Halloween with that. Like, and it's more to the credit of the show itself. Like for going this hard. Like as much as I want to give it credit and like say I appreciate X, Y, and Z, just the. I don't think this would classify as lizard brain, but like you know that just base level. Like I can't shake this. I can't out reason my just unease looking at this kind of stuff. And the, like you said, like it's not just, it's another episode of Community. It's it's the claymation episode. It's like the real Christmas episode. Like you can say, oh, the first season Christmas episode was the fight episode or the what. This is the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
And I don't want to disregard all of the character growth that happened. Like I don't want to say that it's not a funny episode that I don't like. Like for any episode that I list off in my bottom 3, when it comes up in the next play next, I don't skip it.
Oh sure, that's
It's
true
just,
with all of them.
as I'm
honestly.
looking through all of the episodes, just these were in my bottom 3.
Does anyone want to step up and say why he's wrong?
You know, Bo,
And
I
know
value
I'm
your
wrong. I'm
opinion.
wrong.
I can actually, I didn't end up choosing it as one of my bottom 3. I couldn't justify it because there's too many good bits in it. But I was looking at the list and struggling to pick a bottom 3, and I did at least think about intermediate documentary filmmaking for the same reason that Bo is talking about for Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. Like, I love the documentary, I like how Community does the documentary format, but generally speaking, I prefer shows that don't do that. So, I mean, we talked about this in our episode about it on our show, that, like, it slows the pace of the jokes. It's just a different type of show when they're doing this style, and it's not my personal, like, favorite. And of the documentary episodes, it's, like, not my favorite either. I prefer the one in season 3 by a long shot. So, like, it's not one of my bottom 3. It didn't really even come close because there's still a lot of good stuff in it. But, like, I do understand the perspective just based on that episode for me. But yeah, you're also wrong. Like that was
it's unbelievable.
Like it's really like a perfect episode, but I guess it's like perfect if you like that kind of like, you know.
It's only perfect if you like good stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
So Ed, I lost you for a second. Was that you saying that documentary is one of your bottom 3?
No. It probably wouldn't even be like my bottom 10 of the season. It's like definitely up there. I just like when it was one that pinged in my head as I was scrolling through and trying to come up with, like, I had as my third of the, like, my best of the worst. I had A Fistful of Paintballs until like 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
And frankly, Kevin, you're absolutely right. Plus, I just rewatched it. Like, it is
so
like
much.
It is really good. I just like of the paintball episodes, it's my personal like least favorite. And so that's why I initially put it there. But I had to cross it off because I just couldn't justify it. And now I'm torn. But I'm just gonna go with Psychology of Letting Go, just for being like a funny but overall kind of like I think underwhelming episode by comparison.
Okay,
to
Ed,
I like that one quite a bit.
Because this is
I have
one
the
of
same
few
number
episodes.
3 actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
so
Kevin and Ed both.
This is one. It was almost my number 3. This is one of the few this season that Zach and I think had a little bit different feelings about. But this was not one of my favorites of the season. This was probably like my number 4 if I had to put it on there. It was very close to my number 3. It wasn't my favorite either.
Yeah, it was my 3 or 4, and then I just decided on it. If nothing else, I think Britta and Annie mud wrestling is kind of lazy.
I agree with that. The B
it's-
plot in that one, sure.
It doesn't subvert that like really sexist trope in any way. It just does it. And there's a few times where Community will, instead of subverting a trope like it usually does, it'll just do it. And I like the A story with the lava lamp and the introduction of all of that, but it's not enough to make up for how much like I zone out through half the episode.
Let me piggyback off of that because I think that's kind of a theme of a lot of the episodes that were at the bottom for me are the ones that do something that typically Community would subvert, but then it doesn't seem like they subvert it here. It seems like they're kind of doing the thing that's bad instead of doing it to point out that it's bad. So my number 3 is my lesser of those, but I went with Aerodynamics of Gender. I've never really been crazy about that one. I put it at the top of these because it's got the trampoline, and that's a great storyline. However, if the joke is that someone's racist, is it a good joke?
So Zach, I also had this as my number 3. I really didn't love as much as I love Hillary Duff. That's you, girl. Hope you're
Who
listening.
doesn't?
I didn't
Shout
love
out
that
Hillary
part
Duff.
of it, and
Come on the show.
Shouts out Hillary Duff. H Duff, come on the show. Let's talk about it. But yeah, not my favorite. It wasn't a bad episode. I don't think there is a bad episode.
Was it a
this whole season.
good episode?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It did not tickle my fancy the way some of the others did.
I don't love what they do with Abed in this one very much. Sometimes they go just a little too far. They do that in season 3 for me too. Sometimes they go a little bit too far with Abed, and I think they do him right so often that it's a little frustrating when they go off the deep end a little bit. So Steven, you said that was your 3 too?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what's yours, Alex?
I don't really have a bottom 3. It's not because I'm lazy and didn't do the homework. I know that's what you're thinking. It's when I looked at the names, I was like, Psychology of Letting Go. Oh, that's when that. So I don't know. I think it kind of all bleeds together once you get to a certain point. Like I think you could name like the top 15 episodes, and then I would say like then there's probably 10 that fall below, or 14 that fall like below that. So I don't know.
Okay, Kevin's got a gun to your head, and you have to pick, Alex. Which one is it?
It's
gonna
back,
be?
baby.
I'm just gonna pick 3. Then what's Asian population studies? I don't remember it. So like you're gonna get.
That's the last appearance of Rich, where they're asking him to join the study group.
That episode was almost in my bottom 3.
Sorry,
I
Greg.
was gonna say that's in my bottom 3 because while I was trying to like do some homework, I was like, this episode and skipped it. Like, we also just watched it for SGC, so like I had it fresh in my memory.
Sure,
but it was
right.
just like
Is that the one she gives birth?
No,
No,
that's
no,
applied
that's-
anthropology.
It's
No,
the
we
introduction of Andre. What's his name? Malcolm Jamal Warner.
It's the first time we meet Andre.
Yeah, kettle
Oh.
corn. That's
Not
a
my
fun
favorite.
time snack.
Yeah, not a great episode.
Britta indignantly screaming mezzanine.
It's
Classic
got
shit.
one of
Shatter
the Jeff.
your
It's got one
world.
of the best Jeff speeches though. Like his
100%.
advocating for Chang in that in the group is like one of his best speeches. Plus, I couldn't put it on my bottom 3. It was one of the ones that I thought of, but I couldn't put it on the bottom 3 purely out of Troy probing Malcolm Jamal Warner about his
that's a
making
good bit.
And
habits.
like children have gotten their
Their
candy.
just the way he ends that conversation by just being like, "I'm gonna go talk to some other people," and just walks away from him.
So, Bo, that was your number 2? That was your second worst?
I didn't have my bottom 3 in any like.
Okay.
The top.
Oh, okay.
I had my top 2, like for the favorites. Those are the only 2 where I'm just like, yeah, I can definitively decide that this is the order. Everything else is just like, any given day, I'll kind of sway one way or the other. But like, they're locked in at the bottom 3 and top 5.
So like competitive wine tasting. What's that one about?
That's my number 2.
That's number
That's
2.
my
That's
number
number
one.
2. Yeah.
That's my number 1.
Number
So-
2 is competitive wine tasting. Man, there's some. Of course, Troy yelling "my emotions" is funny, but him
That's about all
pretending
it's
to
got.
be
To get molested.
molested,
Yes. Don't care
and
for
then
it.
and then at the end of it, Britta's still like sensitive towards him after they all know the truth. There needed to be some type of like. Abed's the only person in that one who's like, "You need to not do this. This is going to end
Yeah.
badly." But when he tells the truth, everyone like applauds him for it instead of. That's
Yeah.
my number 2. Like that's when Community isn't subverting what they think that they're
Did
subverting.
we have the
It's
same
a
3,
cheap
Zach?
joke.
Look at us.
Well, I don't know what your number 1 is. We'll get to
Wow.
that.
Intro
Kevin, what
to
was-
political
Kevin, did you say
science.
your
What's
number
that one about?
Political pop.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
Intro to Political
the
Science
Dean-
is a
That's
great
the,
episode.
the
We can't-
election episode.
Alex,
men have
you're breaking
fought
my
and
heart. That is
died.
That is a top 5. But we'll
Top
come around to
5.
that.
So who still has
Holy
bottom
top
3s?
5?
I
Yeah.
still have my worst episode. Does
I have my
anyone
worst.
still
Kevin,
have
I'm
their
sorry.
second
You
worst?
Well, I just yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I've my bottom is my second is also competitive wine tasting.
Yes.
Steven.
What was your number 3?
My number 3 was Psychology of Letting Go. Same as
Yeah.
Ed.
Okay, yeah.
We
That's
were
what it
twinsies.
was. Twins. Mhm.
Then Ed, you
I
need
had-
a second one, right?
I had competitive wine tasting at my worst.
Sure.
Zach, you were just on our show to talk about that. There's like, it's not even just the Troy and Britta plot line. Like the plot
I don't
line
like
with,
the.
The main
Pierce
plot
and
line is
everything
racist,
honestly
too.
even worse. Like,
Yeah.
Hate it.
like they're
Bad.
both bad. I don't even want to say one's worse than the other. I
now
don't,
it's
like,
got the Who's the
it is-
Boss plot line. That's why
It does.
It's the
that's
only
the only
saving
reason
and it
why
earns
it's not the
points
worst
for
me.
bringing back Sean Garrity as an acting teacher.
Great.
His monologue at the end is great. Like there aren't like valueless Community episodes, I think,
Right.
but this is like
is pretty
this
close.
is the only one
Yeah.
in this season I would say I dislike more than I like. But my number 2 is one that's like again, like it was hard to pick the bottom 3 except for competitive wine tasting. So I have Anthropology 101 at my second
okay.
worst.
I've grown
Not
on
my
that one a
favorite,
lot.
but
It's got a lot of great bits, and as I was writing it down, I was like, but the whole wedding bit is so funny. Like, all of that is great. But I ultimately just... The first things that come to mind when I think about that episode are like it's wrapping up a bit from season 1 that
wasn't that good in the first place.
Yeah, like the season 1 finale is one of my least favorite episodes of that season, and this episode is just resolving a lot of that. So like Annie is kind of like at her worst in this episode. Like there's not a lot that really leaps out to me, and I think some of the season premieres and finales can struggle because they have to be so plot heavy and can't really stand on their own. And season 2's best episodes, in my opinion, are really standalone ones for the most part. And yeah, so. Yeah, I'm not a
okay,
big fan
so
of
that was a good way to segue into our worst. You said your worst was competitive wine tasting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the conversation we got to have about that one really illuminated a lot of the problems with that one, where we started off like, it's not the best, and by the end of it, we were like, you know what? That episode.
We need to write letters.
Yeah, I like. It's really like the only one where I was just immediately threw it on my list. I was like, I know that's my bottom one. Like it was fresh on the memory, but also just like it like shocked me watching it again. Like I genuinely just don't like this episode, like, and that just so rarely happens with Community. It's like, yeah.
So
There's
let's
a lot
hear
of
some
bad episodes
worst
in this
episodes.
season. Huh.
Yeah, but I think season 3 I could probably do like a bottom 6.
There's some in season 3 I don't love, and yeah.
Let's hear some.
You know where I was going with that. That was okay.
I'll do my worst. I was actually surprised by my worst. I thought it would be competitive wine tasting, but I was looking over the list, and I decided that the worst one would be the one I always have to be like, wait, what's in this episode? What's going on? Because normally I have like a pretty good recall. So my number one worst is custody law and Eastern European diplomacy.
That is
which
also
is
my
my
worst
number
episode
one
of
as
the
well.
season.
Yep.
It's
twins,
just
Zach,
like
all 3.
Nice.
Chang kidnaps black children.
Yeah.
And Jeff gets arrested for it.
And there's a Balkan war criminal. I just no thank you on this episode.
Yeah, the one one of the few not white sub characters they introduce, and he's a war criminal, and it's not like a joke. He just is.
He just
is.
Yeah,
is.
That was my worst as well. The only reason it's not competitive wine tasting, I think, is because of the Who's the Boss storyline. I have a lot of joy in that. Custody law, there's very little to take away from it. Very, very little. Does anyone else have a different worst?
This is in my top 5. What can we?
Oh my god, that's gonna be fun.
No.
It's not my top 5,
Okay.
but I love this episode.
I have to say, when I was making my top 5, I put this at 5 and then filled out the rest. I wanted to shout this one out. It's not honestly in my top 5. Like those episodes I left out that like I could put ahead of it. But
you like
I figured
to be hipster.
I figured someone else. I don't know. I wanted to bring it to the conversation because I truly think it is Britta's funniest episode. Like I just do. I think she is unstoppable
What does
in this
she do
episode.
in that one?
The whole, like, her revealing... the Britney Spears. The whole
That
revealing...
makes me cringe so hard, though.
I know,
in
it's
the best
so
way.
good.
And I
so
like
good.
cringy comedy, but that one just...
No, I love
don't
it.
know.
And when she does the, like, fake realization about Luca to Troy and Abed about stealing the DVD, it's so good. Like, that is an Emmy Award-winning scene.
Dude.
Even her on his chest being like, I knew there was hurt in there. Like, just all that trying to, like, break him down. Like, she's so good.
Also, you're right that there's a lot of jokes in this that are problematic, and it's probably as bad as competitive wine tasting. But there's something about the Lucas stuff and Chang just going off the deep end in this episode that hits me in an It's Always Sunny way, where I'm just kind of like, it goes so far, but
Chang's delivery of the kids being like, our name's not Shirley, it's Laquanda. Nay, that's racist! That's one of the funniest things in this season. Like,
funny.
it's so good.
It's so good. Like even Luca like his like reveal that he's a war criminal. Like, I'm sorry, but it's done in a funny way. Like, it really is.
Okay.
Save your tears for your dog mother in hell.
Like, girls are so undesensitized. Like, you get some good commentary on violence in video games in this episode. Like, it's
I don't know if I'd say...
you
get commentary on violence in video games.
No, it's very nuanced, Zach. You're not giving it enough credit. No, I just
Maybe
like I
shouldn't
think
read
this is
between
like
the lines. That's what
this is not a very special episode in the way most of the best ones in season 2 or just best community episodes are in general, but I wanted to pick out one just them doing crap around Greendale episode to highlight, and that this was it for me. Just Britta, like Gillian is incredible in this episode.
Bo, did you get all of your bad ones out? Did you still have
I mean,
more?
wine tasting, but everyone was saying everything that I wanted
So
to say.
let's hear
so.
some other fifth place on best episode, since Ed opened it up with custody law, which was most of our least favorite of the entire season.
I'll get my 5 out of the way because it's been discussed a lot already. Fistful of Paintballs is my number 5 for all the reasons I said before: the style, the story, it's remarkable. It like takes my breath away as like 21 minutes of television. I think it's excellent.
I can't
like
disagree
Fistful.
with
I
you.
think it's good. As somebody who watched a lot of westerns growing up, I kind of had that like bit of nostalgia for it. Also, as somebody who really likes the Red Dead Redemption games, also felt some love for that one. I think I do prefer the Star Wars one just a little bit in terms of like what do I enjoy watching more. But I really do like the card thing and the kind of build up with Pierce and Annie in Fistful for sure.
I love how you pointed that out, Kevin. That's my favorite thing about that episode. How at first it's just an aesthetic that each of them has a calling card, and then slowly it's woven into the storyline, and it's a really well done piece of tying the real world into the make believe of the episode. Yeah,
it's total. It does what the best community genre episodes do, and it keeps it rooted in an emotional story for our heroes. And also, just like I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so like the incredible like spaghetti western aesthetic is gonna do way more for me than the Star Wars. I think it's great.
Okay. I'll say my number 5. I think it might be higher on some people's lists, maybe not. My number 5 is conspiracy theories and interior design. And it's a perfect episode of television. I think all of these episodes, I would say, are perfect episodes of television. I think maybe what gives some of the other episodes a little bit of a step above it is maybe they make me laugh a little bit more. Maybe I'm drawn to rewatch them over and over again a little bit more. But just the way that conspiracy theories is structured and the way it all comes together and falls apart is so well executed that it's got to be one of the top.
So I'll say that one wasn't in my top 5. It almost was. I think the 5, 6, 7 slot for me are all really close. And it was almost that one. It was almost the documentary one. But I ended up going with Paradigms of Human Memory for my number 5. Yeah, I thought that one was funny.
Is that pretty much why?
Yeah, that was real funny. Laughed a lot. And here's we talked about the thing in our episode. Neither of us are always huge on clip show episodes, but I think taking the idea that it's all stuff that hadn't been done, and then kind of how they called back to it later on with the St. Patrick's Day stuff, I thought was really funny as well.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I remember when it aired, and seeing with the promos what they were gonna do with it. Like, I don't know why, but I've always loved clip show episodes. Maybe I'm just like just too nostalgic to not just love watching that kind of thing.
Watch it and you're like, you're right. That part was funny.
I
enjoyed that when that happened.
When all of you guys danced in those various episodes, and now it's to the fray or whatever. Like, great. So I love that episode for playing with that format. But it didn't make my top 5. That was a tough cut.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't really order my top 5 other than like my top 2, but this is in the bottom 3 of my top 5. As confusing as that sounds, there's so many right there.
Yeah, it's my number 4. Paradigms of Human Memory. Great episode.
Alex, you got an episode to throw out? You got a good one to throw out?
Conspiracy Theories was my number 3.
Okay.
Because I think you've got Craig Kukowski coming on and just nailing the ending.
Yeah.
Like it was like Simone Biles.
Right?
getting the hands, fingers. My daughter does gymnastics, so
nice.
Big gymnastics house. I think it just sticks the landing because it's just so funny.
The Dean in that episode, the way the Dean breaks down,
Dean's
I don't know anymore. It's so perfect and it's so funny, and the way that Jim Rash is able to like throw himself into really being in the moment with it is really, really funny.
Kevin Corrigan's great as Professor Sin, so it's so good. Yeah. Anyway, my number 5 is epidemiology. So
epidemiology,
that's my number 3.
Great episode.
Yeah, I mean, aside, I think you could do mix up any of these aside from the number 1, which should be everyone's number 1 episode. But anyway,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe not. You don't know. You don't know us.
True.
You don't know my life.
It's fine.
Bo
Go ahead.
said Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas is the third worst episode of the season.
I didn't say third worst. I just said it was in my bottom 3 because those were not structured.
So it's third worst or worse.
Or
Yeah.
What you're saying.
I'm just saying, let's keep the options open. If it is the worst, then let's discuss this and embrace it as a fandom.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out my number 4. It's one that I don't expect to show up on anyone else's list. It's just one that was a favorite when I was younger when I watched it and still makes me laugh just as much now. I had to shout out Intro to Political Science.
No,
my number 4 as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I'm glad to
that's
see
also
that.
in my top. Yeah.
It's one that I think can be overlooked, but you guys said something about wanting to point out an episode that is like just stuff happening at Greendale. I think Intro to Political Science is my favorite of that. There's so many funny moments, both with the main cast and seeing a little bit more of some of the extended cast in that episode. The Dean's so good in it. I think it's really great. It's my number 4.
Really good episode. So one of my favorite things about this season is the bountiful.
Where are you going with this?
Just I want to say like resurgence,
Take us
but
there.
like for the first time. the introduction of one of the best characters in the show.
I feel like
think I said
Kevin's
something
moments away
crazy,
from
Zach.
whipping the gun out.
I was like, I think I called them like my 4th favorite character in the show, maybe, but Magnitude. So any Magnitude we get, I'm very happy. Pop. I
Yeah.
cheer just with the rest of them. I love Magnitude.
Yeah, that this episode brings. I think it's Vicky's
like the
first
sec-
appearance.
yeah. It's
You
definitely
the
Vicky's
second
first
appearance
episode.
of Magnitude. Yeah, and you get some Starburns. You get plenty of Leonard. You get Garrett in there. Like I think this is like one of the most. I think this is like a quintessential Greendale episode.
Agreed.
Like if you were to like make the episodes that just like showcase how amazing this setting is, because and the Dean's at his like top form too. Like
Yeah.
His opening monologue on wearing the Uncle Sam
Oh my
outfit
God, it's great.
is so good. And
It's nice
his
to know
back
there's a
and
floor
forth-
on this thing.
Yeah, and like how into it he gets with like every speech, like he's like in on every chant, all that thing. Like yeah, it's so good. Jeff is like at his best worst, if you know what I mean. You know, he's
Yeah.
at his worst, but at his best at the same time. And then everything that's happening with Abed and Troy, like on the side,
good.
is great. And you get an Eliza Coupe cameo in there.
Yeah.
Another great Britta
Love
moment
it.
of her
Great.
storming the stage. I believe you guys need not being governed. And
Yeah.
nothing. Like,
Pierce gets to be weirdly poignant. Like it's like one of the funniest episodes in the season, I think. Just like joke for joke, one of the
Yeah,
funniest.
it's
I mean,
really
How
Even
does Pierce get to
unironically,
be
Chevy-
poignant in that one? I don't
well,
remember
because he
anything.
tells
Yeah.
off Vicky, and you know how I feel about Vicky.
no, okay.
Yeah. Whoa.
I'm not saying that Pierce as a character should have said all of this stuff to Vicky, the character, but the dialogue of him,
It's so funny.
like,
My platform
like, oh, you
will
know
be
your
one
mic is
high
on,
enough to
right?
push Vicky to her death.
Yeah.
like, oh, good, because I'm on fire up here. Like, that's just so
Yeah,
good.
tapping the mic before saying "because of your overbite" is like,
You can tell that Chevy got that script, saw all the insults to some random
Yeah.
girl, and was like, I'm going to nail this one. I got it.
Yeah.
No problem.
It's Chevy time.
Some new actor trying to steal my light? No.
Any other number 4s? Anybody
My
not say
number 4 is Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
Love
Okay.
it.
Bo, I think
Battle.
you like this one a lot. Right? No, I like that one a lot. I actually got a little emotional each time we watched it for this time talking about it, because I think there's some really great stuff with Troy and Abed that was really great, you know, because they're just such good friends, and that's why I like it so much. I mean, there's some stuff in there that isn't great. I don't think it's the funniest episode of the show by any means, but I really like the amount of Duncan that you get in it. I think that Britta is very Britta in it, which I appreciate, and Annie and Troy are great friends to Abed, and I love it.
I think that's one of the things that makes season 2 so good is Professor Ian Duncan. I wish we could have gotten even more of him, but the fact that we get so much John Oliver in this season makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Sasu.
Yeah. My number 4 is
Go ahead.
sorry, I'll jump in. My number 4 is mixology certification.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a popular episode for a lot of people. Yeah, I think it's a really when you're kind of mixing in, no pun intended, into all of the episodes. It's pretty poignant. It's a sweet episode for Troy. I think you see a lot of depth from him and character growth and how they made that episode, it turned out incredibly different than what it was written as, compared to, it was meant to be much more of a kind of a wacky episode, and they turned it into, something very heartfelt. So I like that.
Yeah.
I love that episode. It was just edged out of my top 5.
That one was my number
Steven?
3. My number 3. I really liked Mixology. I thought that it was one of mine. As much as I think the seasons, the characters that shine the brightest this season shine really bright in that episode with Troy and Annie and Abed all getting like really great stuff there. So love it.
I mean, you're talking about my favorite episode of the series. Like Mixology Certification is my number 1 episode of Community. Like, I love the way it mixes like sadness with laughter. I think that's all really deft. I love every character gets something interesting to do. They each
except
get their own
Pierce.
little...
Except Pierce is just kind of stuck in the
Pierce
entrance.
is just stuck, but like he has a bunch of great great jokes in the cold open.
Okay,
like, I broke my legs, not my gender. Who made this crappy cake anyway?
His really pathetic when Shirley when he has to ask Shirley for help outside of the door, and it's pathetic. Like, will you please help me? Thank you.
And it's not the longest, deepest storyline in the world, but it's like, hey, it's a complete storyline within an episode. Great cameos from Paul F. Tompkins and Jim Taro. And probably the best I've ever seen a television show talk about alcohol and the different ways that it affects everyone. Is that like some people, sometimes you ride it and you're really high and you make out with your hot friend. Sometimes it just puts you in like a deep depressive place and like ruins your evening or your life. Paul F. Tompkins throws a drink in your face. Great episode.
Sometimes you just have to take care of your friends, and you never really get to have the good time you wanted. I think
that I had many times. Yes, exactly.
I think that episode really nails for me the feeling of turning 21 and how there's so much excitement and like mythology around turning 21, and then when it happens, you kind of feel dead inside, it's no matter what, you're still you, and it's kind of like a welcome to adulthood. I don't know. I think it nails a lot of the kind of bittersweet feelings around the age Troy turns in it. I think that's a great episode. It didn't make my top 5 though.
So it's my favorite episode of the season, just to spoil that, but part of that is the lesson that Troy kind of comes away with at the end of, the Red Door and L Street are the same bar. Like, hey, just because they're older than you doesn't mean that, like, and not that, like, you should disregard, like, if there are any children watching, listen to your parents. Jesus Christ, don't stick your head in an oven because they told you not to. Like, just, like, sometimes rules are there for a reason, but in this case, it's the barrier breaking of, hey, I can feel more confident in my stature within the group. And it also did a good job, in my opinion, of showing, like, hey, let's say that Greendale shut down tomorrow. Would they still be friends? Yes, because we see them working in a setting that, like, in my opinion, was more natural than, like, just some random thing that we couldn't really relate to, something very, like, community, like, just people going out to a bar. Like, if the rest of the series decided to be, it's these characters meeting at the bar and then getting into wacky things, like, I would still watch that show. I feel like that's...
Which later on they kind of did it a little bit in the last season. Okay, so I'm going to just run down my top 3 really quick. My number 3 was Paradigms of Human Memory. I think that's one of the most perfect, funniest, well-executed episodes of Community, and it was one that, until we watched it this time going through the season, that I probably would have left out of this top 5, but I think it's just such an essential episode. There's so many funny moments for every character, and the way that if Community is going to do a fake clip show, they're going to work it in so that all of the fake clips fit in the continuity of the show, and after this episode, all of that stuff still happened. It wasn't just for these bits, even though it's just one-off jokes where they're in like Western towns and stuff. I really love that episode. My number 2 is Cooperative Calligraphy. Nobody's mentioned Cooperative Calligraphy yet, which kind of surprises me. Does nobody else have that on their list? No. Number 2?
Yep.
That surprises me. I think Cooperative Calligraphy might do more for me what Mixology Certification does for some of you guys. I don't know. That's the one where it really... After the stuff happens in that episode, the entire study group is on an even playing field. They all reach a melting point with each other, and they all come out of it better for it. I don't think they could all go hang out in a bar together if Cooperative Calligraphy hadn't happened. Does that happen first?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so that's my number 2. And then my number 1, I'll save it because I think we're all probably maybe going to say the same thing. Does anyone else have something that hasn't been touched on yet other than our first favorite?
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh no, I said my 3. Also, I forgot. I want to give a shout out to In Paradigms of Human Memory because you reminded me of it when you were just talking about it. I think that the Cerebrellus gravity joke with Abed and Pierce is one of the funniest things in the entire show.
It's so good. Yeah. Also, Troy's nose bleeding as he screams. through
That's
the
my favorite
timelines
part.
It's great.
That's one of those things that's so well earned. It's so ridiculous and like sort of outside of the reality, but it's so well placed in the episode. And yeah, I mean it's weird because it's not an episode where anything like fantastical happens, but yeah.
Because we are flat baroque.
That montage might get me rearranged
single
my
one
top
of
5
those
list.
is killer.
I think Bo and I talked about this in our episode on it, but that like montage of the Dean will just like we'll do that back and forth while we're like playing video games, like just out of nowhere, completely devoid of context. We'll just start reciting those bits, and it's one of my favorite. And knowing that they shot that all in like one day with just quick costume changes and like those like 6 examples were like the 6 they wrote, and they were just all great. Like it's
It's just 7 bangers right in a row. It's unbelievable. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that cements for them that like, oh, Jim Rash has to be like a main cast member next year. Like he's getting opening credits money now.
Yeah,
we have to lock this guy down.
Yeah,
and that's just great. I think we're all thinking one similar answer to fill out the top 5s. The only one of mine that hasn't been brought up yet in the top 5 is intermediate documentary filmmaking, which is my number 3. I think that episode, again, a lot of the same things I said for mixology. It's like every character gets something great to do in that episode, besides like Chang and Dean, who aren't in it. But like everyone who's present gets like a whole storyline, a bunch of great jokes, like the back and forth between Jeff and Britta, where she's his dumb gay dad, like the LeVar Burton runner is incredible. And that episode uses, like, yes, it is a documentary filmmaking, like it's a parody of like, you know, Parks and Rec and The Office, but it's also like they chose that format as the only way you could tell this story. It like lets them do this that they wouldn't be able to do without the documentary format, and tell plot lines that like you need to be able to cut to people explaining what's happening for this episode to make any sense or even be possible. And so it's not just like a gimmick, it's also like a brilliant use of that format that most of the shows that use that format don't even utilize properly. It's unbelievable.
To like take what you were saying and apply it to like the very beginning of the episode, and like the kind of reveal, like the conceit of the episode of you know, Pierce, I'm dying, the pills wiped me out. Like, in my opinion, like a good performance from Chevy Chase of me being like, oh shit, like this, he could totally be dying. And then the immediate flip to, I'm not actually dying.
I'm not dying.
And it's so perfect. It's so perfect. And like you said, it could not have been done if not in the documentary format. So yeah, you're 100% right.
One of my favorite jokes in the entire series is, I don't know the exact wording, but Jeff, are you just gonna cut to me freaking out like a montage freaking out, and the different shots and his like yelp at the last bit makes me laugh so hard every time.
I don't think anyone other than Alex has mentioned my number 2, which was epidemiology.
That's my number 2.
That's my number 3.
Okay. Woo. I was a little worried. I was a little there, but I love that one. I think
ABBA.
the ABBA stuff
Iconic.
is so funny. Troy's great in that episode.
The cat in the basement.
Yeah.
Troy is the reason I really included that, because I was trying to decide whether to also include Basic Rocket Science, and I think both of them work as like the Troy hero episodes, and obviously we get more in season 3, and that's kind of like his big send-off is like, you are the hero, go like have your adventure or whatever. But yeah, in epidemiology, he is like such a good, like having it all come down to him at the end happens so naturally, and like it's also of all the like episodes they've done where they've parodied like action or anything with real legitimate danger, this is the only one where I was like, no, they are in like real like actual, like it was like we don't talk about it enough that like even though they all got it erased from their minds at the end, this is canon. Like there are zombies in the Community universe, like actual zombies, like it's and speaking of, we talked a lot about Jim Rash and how great he is this season, him as Lady Gaga.
That's one of his earliest, you know, season 2 the Dean comes into his own, and that's one of the first announcements of the Dean is going to be one of the best characters, if not the best character on the show.
Troy,
he can do anything,
be honest,
that's hilarious.
are you a zombie? I will mace you.
There's something called a chain of command.
You better back that pumpkin ass up, Leonard. That's all stuck with me.
I'll make up like a pie.
Yeah. Any
the
other
idea-
outliers before we say our favorites for anyone that hasn't yet?
My
got?
number 2 is, I assume, going to be a couple of the number 1s, so I'll
Sure.
hold that.
Same
but
with my
yeah.
number 2, which I think is probably the same episode.
Well, then let's do it. Let's do it. So you guys have your number 2 yet? Give it away.
Everyone on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Advanced
Dungeons and
Messianic
Dragons.
myths and ancient. What?
So a lot of us have it as our first favorite. You two have it as your second. And then what did you have as your first? Kevin, you had mixology certification.
Mixology.
What did you have, Ed?
I had critical film studies, and this is very
Wow.
recency bias
Okay.
because we just recorded our episode on it, and I think both Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and Critical Film Studies are episodes that I don't think any other show could have done as well. And that's true of everyone's like top 5 here. These are all like very uniquely community episodes. But I think Critical Film Studies, what really stood out to me in this last rewatch for the podcast was how well they like are playing with both this, like the substance is really good. I love Abed and Jeff episodes. I think they're honestly the best pairing on the show, even more than Troy and Abed. That's been my hot take for a while. But the way it, like, you have the My Dinner with Andre stuff happening, where in story there's the tension of Jeff trying to get Abed to the surprise party, and on a meta level, there's the tension of the audience being like, no, we want the Tarantino episode. That seems fun. Let's get to the Tarantino party and do the wacky Pulp Fiction episode. And the whole time it's like, no, we're sitting
This
in
is
this
the episode.
much more obscure like movie I still haven't seen reference, and like
I watched
it's just-
it for the podcast when we got to the episode, and you can just watch Critical Film Studies again.
Nah,
That's the
you
movie.
get the whole
what you're pointing out,
overt
it's
I
so-
watched like a 6-minute video on YouTube that was like the opening and ending scenes of the movie, and I pretty much got the gist.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I've
It
heard.
was
Is
really
that
cool
you
how-
can just kind of watch the beginning and end of it, and then you get it. So
how both the actual substance of the episode and how Abed gets Jeff to play right into the My Dinner with Andre setting without knowing that he's doing it when he starts revealing all this stuff about himself, and then seeing Abed start to break as Jeff really is revealing personal stuff about himself, and he's like, I was not expecting this. I just wanted to do the movie. That is a really good episode, so I'm glad that you mentioned it. That's your favorite of the entire season.
it was a tough call, but just off of this. Right now, if I made this list again next week, it'd be 5 different episodes.
Sure.
So like, it's just it's really tough with this season. But yeah, I think, oh God, and part of the same reason I put Custody Law at the bottom of the list for Britta. Like, this is, I think, Danny Pudi's single best episode. Like the monologue he gives on about pooping on the set
It's
of
great.
Cougar Town. Like, and I brought this up on our show. I'll say it again here, that it is. Like, I'm fooled every time. Like, every time he gives that speech, I'm like drawn in emotionally. I'm feeling for him. I'm like, yeah, no, I know the feeling you're talking about. Like, you wanted to be Chad. I get that. Like, but like, and then the flip at the end, just the beat, and then I pooped my pants. It's so good. It's so well done, and then Joel McHale, I think, is underrated as well in this episode, playing on the opposite side of him. Because once he's the one who's actually revealing stuff, it, like you said, it's just. It's so good. It's one of the quietly best, and I think you just couldn't do this on any other show. It takes so much build up of like the style of Community and what you expect from an homage episode, and it's still only the second season, which is it's a feat. It's an absolute.
No other show could pull it
tremendous
off, and
feat,
no other show I think would have the balls to do it, because they know that nobody is gonna probably. I mean, sure, it was kind of a indie hit when it came out, I guess, but there is so much time removed from My Dinner with Andre. It is not a part of the zeitgeist in the times of Community season 2. That's really risky to commit to
Nice
something
word
like that
use,
just
Zach.
cause. What?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice word use was zeitgeist.
Thanks. Okay, so Bo, did you give your favorite?
No,
Is
all
it-
of mine have been given out. My favorite was what did I say? Mixology
Mixology.
certification, and then epidemiology was the second one, and then everything else under that is just kind of. It's in the top 5. Congratulations! Like, I don't.
So
I'll give a definitive ranking.
Me,
Now,
Steve, and
Alex,
Alex,
you
we all
said-
say Dungeon Dragons. Or Steven, did you say something different?
I said Dungeons and Dragons. Alex
Yeah.
said Messianic Myths and Ancient Peoples, but I think
Right.
It was a
he-
joke.
It was a
he-
goof.
I think he was
like that
joshing
one.
around.
I do
I
really
liked
like
it
that
too.
one.
episode.
It was at the bottom of a lot of lists, and I don't
Yeah.
really know
Yeah,
why.
I never understood.
It's grown
why
on me.
that had
It used
some
to be
hate.
one of my least favorites, and,
Oh wow.
and it's grown on
Same
me.
here. It's grown on me a lot too.
Yeah.
Oh,
But,
one
okay,
that I
so
thought
let's
was
have the
really funny
argument.
that I also saw at the bottom of a bunch of lists was Pharmacology. I think that's a hilarious episode.
It's
I
grown
love
on
that
me as
episode.
well.
That's funny. It's funny.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
there's
one
the
I
whole
considered
Jeff
for the
flirting with the little boy
Yeah, other than
aspect,
that-
but
but Chevy Chase and Chang are great in that one.
Yeah.
Chang
Yeah.
is excellent.
Yeah.
I think that's an episode I only considered for my bottom 3 just purely out of like it's so like uncomfortable an episode. Like
Yeah.
what Pierce is doing too. Like it's so uncomfortable, so it's a less pleasant watch than other ones, but it's one of the funniest. So I couldn't put
Oh,
it in
you
the bottom
thought drugs were fun forever?
that's not what drugs does, baby. Okay, so let's have the argument. Why to us is Dungeons and Dragons the best, and why to the three of you is it not?
I
think
mean, it's my
Dungeons and
number
Dragons-
2.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. Like,
Yeah, I feel weird because it wasn't in my top 5, and that's not
Yeah.
out of any shade to the episode itself. It's just like, to be fair, out of every episode of Community I've ever watched, like I've watched that one the most. Just
Yeah.
out of, like, if there's been for some reason I haven't watched Community in a long time, like what's going to be the episode?
Yeah.
It's going to be Dungeons
Yeah.
and Dragons, like, and. You know, I'll say I have other things to say, but I'll save that for later in the episode, and I hope that this is, you know, like, it's nothing bad. It's just I don't feel the same level of like serious appreciation. Like it's the epitome of Community, but it's also just like it's not in my personal top 5.
Totally.
I don't think it would be my favorite episode of the entire series. I'm not sure what that's going to end up being. It's maybe it's a little overrated because it's the one so many people point towards, but I think it really is the perfect blend of a really daring like structural change to the show for an episode, along with weaving it in emotionally with all the characters, getting you invested to the text and the subtext, and also we learn about Fat Neil and the way that you become so emotionally invested in him in just like 5 minutes. You immediately are like, yeah, I care about this guy. I want them to help this guy out.
You mean Neil?
Yeah,
what did I
Zach,
say?
You mean you said Fat Neil, you ass?
Fabulous, Neil.
Sorry, in that when I think of that episode, I think Fat Neil. Sorry.
real Neil.
Well, then you're missing the
Types.
point,
You know,
Zach.
and after Charlie Poons had the
Charlie
kindness,
Kuntz. Yeah, you can't give me shit and call him Charlie Kuntz.
Well, he is. You know, I don't know. It's his nickname because he just.
No,
gets
I mean,
all
I
the-
think-
all the Poons.
I think his story that he shared with me was that he asked, like, eventually once he was like called back enough that he was like, "Can we have this just be called Neil?"
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
of
On the
course. I
scripts,
completely get that.
And it
yeah.
was like, yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, sure." Yeah, I think it was like the point of the episode. It's like this character.
Well, sorry that I said that. Sorry. That
No,
I said
I'm
that.
just.
I get
you
that. I
shit.
get that.
Come on the
because
show,
episode does a great
Charlie.
job.
Clear up what your last name really is and get back a piece of your mind.
I mean, spoilers for the later section of the show, but like Neil is my MVP for this season,
Nice.
mostly
Yeah.
because
Love it.
as I've been rewatching, he gets name dropped damn near every episode.
Yeah, all the time.
And then when you finally see Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, there is the payoff and there is the character growth, and it like solidifies like, hey, the background characters in Community are characters. Like these people, like you might not see them, but they have classes that you're not seeing on screen, and they have feelings that they don't get to really, you know, put forth a lot of the time.
And I think he does some of the best acting of the whole season too, consistently. Whenever he's
Not
on
just
screen,
in that
he's killing
episode.
it.
The beginning
later
of
on,
is it
Paintball?
Fistful of Paintballs that he has a
Yeah.
really great moment in the
So
beginning
good.
of it with Annie. That's another one of my favorites. I don't know, when it comes to MVPs, we'll segue into that. At the end of every episode, me and Steven like to give out an MVP for each episode, and we like tally it and see who over the course of the season we gave the most to, and then kind of put it up against what our heart tells us, you know, based off watching the season, who we really think it would be. And I just feel like I can't give it to a side character for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like it's got to be a study group member for me. Because Neil, I can see where you're going for in that, but what is he in, like 6 episodes?
To me, it's not necessarily I feel like Neil as like an idea, like not necessarily Charlie Coons coming on stage or on set and acting out his role and reading the lines or whatever, but just the idea that Neil has had such a consistent role in each episode, whether or not it's a throwaway line or just, hey, we have to progress this scene because Neil is going to get lunch, and that means that we have to move quickly, and that means the scene has to be over quick. Like, it's the smell of Greendale embodied into the students. It's like, sure, magnitude, one of everyone's favorite characters, throwaway character. He is Mr. Meeseeks
totally.
with less. Like he's Mr. Meeseeks with less depth. Like that's what magnitude is.
Wow.
He's so important to the spirit of Community that like if you got rid of Neil or like Fat Neil into Neil, like that progression, like that's to me what makes Community special. It's the idea that you can have some random throwaway thing. You can have paradigms of human memory where you have random clips that you've never seen before and they have major implications later on. You can have some weird shit go down during the Halloween episode and then have that be a major plot point for the rest of the series. So like I feel like the more I was listening to them just like throw away the Neil character, I'm just like, that means something to me because I know that like off screen Neil is right there.
Yeah.
Whether or not he makes the physical presence, off screen Neil is still there and Greendale is still Greendale. And this has been my TED Talk.
I love it. Yep, I love it.
Let's hear someone else. Who else has got an MVP? Who stands out most from this season? Who is like the champion of the season overall?
For me, it's easy, and I think everyone is excellent in this season. Like, there's no bum leg on this show. But for me, the MVP actor and character is Chevy Chase as Pierce Hawthorne.
Wow.
I mean, as much as that dude sucks IRL, like he's a bad man, but this season is not what it is without Pierce as a fierce antagonist, and you can argue whether or not like he was spurred on by the group. Like, it's a very complex, like, emotional relationship.
Absolutely.
That Chevy performs very, very well. We don't get so many of the episodes in our top fives without the strong presence of Pierce Hawthorne. True. And it just it starts so early, it runs throughout the entire season, and it pays off like gangbusters in the paintball finale.
Yeah.
To where like they end the season on Pierce possibly leaving the study group forever, and he goes out on top. Now obviously that's not what happens.
Right.
But that ending still like guts me emotionally. I think it's really powerfully done, and it was his season the whole time. Number one with a bullet in my book.
You've almost changed my mind.
I know, that was really good.
That was a very good explanation, because you're right. A lot of the overarching stuff in the season is Pierce. But I'm going to stick with what I was going to say initially, because I think outside of Pierce, I think it's very clear that one member of the study group this season comes out as the heart of the study group in a lot of different ways, and I think that's
Benjamin
Troy.
Chang.
No, it's Troy. You say that you don't have a lot of those best episodes without Pierce, and you're right, but I think it's the same way with Troy. Mixology certification, he is all of the like bleeding heart episodes in this season. Troy is a big part of it. Even something in like documentary filmmaking, he just you feel for the guy. He's so warm and cuddly, and he's also the one who, I don't know, in this season he gets to be a leader more often, and he gets to make a name for himself to where he's not just the kid anymore. And Annie gets to do the same thing in the season really well too. But I don't know, I think Troy is just the beating heart of this season, so he's mine.
Yeah, I had to give like a really, really honorable mention to Annie this season, because I think there were a lot of episodes where she was very strong, but when trying to look at who was the strongest in every episode, I also went with Troy. He's my favorite character in the show, so it's hard for me not to be biased, but he just like knocked it out of the park, and with how strong he ended with the paintball episode, especially the second one, like it was great.
I will say, everyone has been right so far in that I think Pierce is absolutely the antagonist of the season. I think Troy has been the heart of the season, but the actual season is about Abed.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at narratively, like all of the episodes, he's like central in Anthropology 101, Basic Rocket Science, Messianic Myths, Quantum cooperative calligraphy, you could argue. Mixology, no. I mean, a little bit. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, he's the narrator, basically.
Yeah.
Critical film studies. Where I keep a fistful of paintballs, and he's Han Solo, right? I mean, he's he's so. I mean, I think that from a story standpoint, this season, I did this the other day on Twitter and gave.
Yeah, I saw that.
I gave each person I actually came out of my conversation with Ed. I had this theory that like each season was a character as like the main driver of like narratively. And the first season's obviously Jeff, but this season is Abed, and I think anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Well, I think your arguments are good, but I do disagree with you because I think you say obviously season 1 is Jeff. When me and Steven did this last season, I think obviously season 1 is Abed.
Yeah.
I think Abed is, I don't know, I think he is the heart of the group in that season. I think Jeff is extremely unlikable for the majority of season 1, and Abed is, I don't know, the way that in season 1 they so expertly craft this character that probably has some type of learning disability or some type of something, in the way that it's part of who he is but not who the character is, in the way that, I don't know, I just think season 1 really nailed Abed, and season 2 did too, but it was like they were able to let some of the other characters step forward and breathe a little bit more in season 2 for me.
Not disagreeing with the heart of season 1, I think is like you
just
get
the story.
What I'm saying is that narratively, the story is all about Jeff coming to community college.
Sure.
And the heart is that he first, I think, like falls in love with Abed, and and you get that in the culmination of the Chicken Fingers episode, and so that's what I would say. Like, I think you're right. You guys are all right in your different perspectives. I just would add that I think this is like a narratively Abed season. Everyone's in it, so who knows?
Well,
Who knows?
Community is such a good show. Like, what other sitcoms, other than a few, don't just have like the main 2 or 3 and everyone else is just stragglers? Sure, Community has some characters that get the short end of the stick, but I think this season really proves that Jeff Winger isn't necessarily the lead character of this show.
Yeah.
There are episodes where Jeff really just kind of sits in the corner and makes a couple of jokes, just like every other character does that in this season. Ed, have we heard from you yet? Who's your MVP?
No, and I think to go off that point, and I asked before we recorded, I was wondering if MVP had to be character or it could be just anyone on the show, in front or behind the camera. It was hard for me to pick a character. I think, Kevin, you make a strong point that Pierce is potentially the most important to the story of this season. I think Abed is a good point. I think Annie, honestly, that's who I thought you were gonna say when you were prefacing your choice, Zach. Because she has she's the heart in the Pierce story. She's the one who keeps him around.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, it was hard for me to pick a single character because I think this is the season where it becomes an ensemble. Season 1 is Jeff, then Abed, but like Jeff is clearly like the main character. But so I went with Ludwig Göransson for the music.
I love that choice.
I'll expand that to just sound in general because I'll start with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is obviously one of the best episodes here. That episode does not work without the sound, and a big part of that is the music as well.
Puts you in a world.
Oh yeah, they're just all sitting around the table, and if you didn't have the sound puts you there, and that's not all the music; it's the soundscape that they build entirely. But Ludwig in a lot of these, think of Space Bus, think of for a few
conspiracy
paintballs more.
theories. Conspiracy theories does not work without the music, which they reuse a couple times, like in Custody Law and Eastern European Diplomacy, when Britta is trying to fake reveal that Lucas stole the DVD. They're playing the conspiracy music, and it works super well. And like this is the season. Like season 1 had a few of the homage episodes, and like the Chicken Fingers has some great like music that's clearly inspired by all those movies. But like this season with like everything. I mean, I think it's ironic that Epidemiology is like the one where they don't really have a lot of Ludwig music because it's just the ABBA. But and there's a lot of examples where we mentioned Messianic Myths as one of the reasons I love that episode, and I thought about it for my top 5 was because of the way the music is used in that episode, particularly when Shirley comes out to destroy the set at the
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So they do so many great things with the music, and it's all the just styles weaving together. I don't think this season comes close to working. Any of the best episodes rely so heavily on music. So yeah, that's my MVP.
I think that's really solid. I love that you said that. Ludwig is so essential to the show. Was there a point in the show when he kind of wasn't quite as heavily involved, or are season 3 onwards a little bit less?
I'm pretty sure he's the credited composer on all 6 seasons, but I get the impression that he was probably involved a little bit more early on, or maybe it's just what the writers chose to do. But like off the top of my head, I can think of a lot more like creative uses of music in the first 3 seasons than in the last 3. And yeah, like I mean that's not like there's other things that are good about the last 3 seasons as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't necessarily need it, but yeah, like I can't think of anything except for like the puppet episode, which had them singing. But like I mean I assume he wrote some of that music. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, over the season, as Steven and I did our MVPs, I went and put them all together. Last season, it was Abed by a landslide when we just did like who we handed him out to at the end of a season. This season, it wasn't a landslide. Troy was who we had overall for first, but Abed was a really close second with just one less. And then Pierce was in third place for just a few below that. So Troy, Abed, and Pierce. But for me and Steven individually, I had like a 3-way tie for first of how many I gave up. It was Pierce, Troy, and Abed. And Steven, you had Troy was first, Abed was second, and Annie was third.
I figured Annie would
I think
be my
stuff
third.
like that is interesting. So that's cool. It was
cool.
really cool to dive into this season. And this has been a really fun conversation to really dive back into it before, me and Steven and I guess Ed and Bo soon move on to season 3, which season 2 is so full, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff in season 3 to dive into that I'm not going to expect because it's been a little while. I know season 2 so well. I think season 3 is going to surprise me more than I think it will up front.
3 is almost all hits. There's a couple dips in there, but man, the good stuff in season 3 is still excellent. It's still just like above and beyond.
Just as good, if not better.
And season 3 is where Community jumps the shark in a good way. Like it is a different show after season 3. I think more so than the first 2 seasons. Like it truly takes that extra step into making things like season 6 happen. So
season 3 is the last season before things really changed, but I feel like a lot of that was going on in season 3 because season 1 is completely innocent because they didn't have a lot of outside interruption. Twitter was becoming so popular throughout the beginning of Community that by season 2, I think they were confident that they were going to stay on the air, but what people wanted out of the show was really heavy on their thoughts. And then season 3, whether or not the show was going to get to continue or not, much like season 3 of Arrested Development, that kind of becomes a part of the show where you can. And then after season 3, I don't know. It'll be interesting to dive into it and see how it changes. Yeah. The last order of business before we wrap this thing up is me and Steven have to give some shit away to some people. We're gonna pick a winner for our giveaway.
Oh shit!
Love it.
Give it away now.
We're giving away all kinds of shit. We're giving away the complete series of Community, 2 t-shirts, a set of Remedial Chaos Theory dice from Alex.
Woo!
He's holding up right now. And what else? Some stickers and
roll.
God damn it, Alex! Do you know how many timelines you just created?
So what I want each of you guys to do, not Steven, he's not important, but I want each of you guys to do to help me decide who's going to win. I want each of you to give me a number between 1 and 50.
8.
Okay.
13.
25.
Okay. One more.
50?
50? Yeah, 50. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to look at the list, and the winner of the giveaway is username Kaz is broke. So I guess that's someone who's good to win some stuff.
Yeah.
At Kaz Schumpert on Twitter. So
Congrats,
you're the winner.
Kaz.
Congratulations. And I'll be reaching out to you to get you some stuff. And to wrap this up, because this has been a lot of fun, I want all of you guys to say a little thing about your show, where people can find you, and why the listeners should listen to your show instead of ours or anybody else's.
Okay, I'm one half of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Good job.
I mean,
Steven.
finish. I mean,
I thought.
Yeah,
No, that's all I got.
Let him finish.
If you're hit,
I
if
was
you're
finished.
Here.
Sounds great. I'll go.
Yeah, go
Or
ahead.
unless someone else is
alphabetically.
gonna talk.
We can do it alphabetically.
There you
Oh,
go.
okay,
Alex.
Alex.
Nice way to secure pole position. Go for it.
Oh, I didn't mean like alphabetically names. I meant
Okay,
like
Zach and
I meant-
Steven, you two pick someone, and then we'll talk whenever you.
Okay,
you just
pick a
tell
number
us.
between
Have
1
you
and
guys
50.
had to do this 1,000 times by now? Shouldn't it be easier than this? Alex,
right,
go.
I'll go
Alphabetically.
I meant by podcast name. I was thinking, but I'll go ahead. 6 seasons of the podcast.
Great show.
And
I'm wearing
do
your
interview-
T-shirt, Alex.
Hey, look at that. Thanks for supporting. You can get T-shirts. I think there's a link for it. Anyway,
I got the only one.
yeah, I think you can. But anyway, yeah, I do interviews with folks from the show, and still trying to keep on doing that when I'm not tired and have many kids. And
When do you not have many kids? What is the timeline?
Every fourth
Should I call
Thursday.
the police?
They just go away.
There's a whole rental service.
yeah, so that's me. Go ahead. Someone
Okay.
else.
Kevin.
Sure, I am one of the Greendale 3 over at Advanced Community Studies, where we watch and talk about every episode of Community, and we also rank them as we go. So we have rankings of the end tags and the episodes. I'm as curious as you all how that will all shake out when everything is said and done. Season 2 is the far and away best season so far. I doubt anything's gonna come along unless season 6 like pulls some real shit. And the end tags, I think 5 is in the lead right now.
Oh yeah,
anyway.
5 has great end tags.
I love Troy. I love Donald Glover. But when he leaves and the end tags just become insane, they're on another level. For
But one of
me.
my favorites
John
of that
Oliver
one is
calling.
oh that one.
Yeah,
calling
America
gold.
accidentally calling
Yes.
the airstrike.
Or John Oliver and Jim Rash with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's the
Those are
Kugler
amazing.
trailer,
Yes.
the guy
Yeah.
who goes to Jeff's gym. Like I think it's
Yes.
aces.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
and I
there's
love
stuff.
when Troy and Abed are furniture, and
Oh, God,
and
yeah.
So
Hickey's
good.
like,
My Hickey.
sorry, I just can't afford my medicine anymore, and Troy's got one tear. That's beautiful.
So good.
Yeah, it's unbelievable when Duncan and Hickey might be like father and son. Like incredible stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's you can find that podcast everywhere except for Spotify. We're too dangerous for Spotify. This show Spotify doesn't want you to hear. That's Advanced Community Studies.
And Ed and Bo, what have you two got going on?
Yeah, we are the Save Greendale Committee, and we also do episode recaps. It's Bo and I and 1 to 2 to maybe 3 guests every week. We try to bring on different people, get different perspectives, and yeah, you can find it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Apparently we're not dangerous enough, so we are on Spotify. Yeah, Save Greendale Committee or SGC_podcast on Twitter as well. Bo, do you want to add anything to that?
I mean,
elevator pitch?
I can keep provoking James Marsden until we get kicked off of Spotify. Like, I can just.
Yeah, we
I'm glad to
discovered
see that
in
James
our
Marsden
episode.
is still going on. That makes me happy
Yeah.
that your loathing for him is
Making
is
it its way over to
constant.
this show now too.
No,
We
I
had a
just-
lot of
yeah.
shit
Wow.
about James Marsden when we were on the
No,
Save Greendale
I also
Committee
love
for
that
some reason.
I don't remember how, but like I don't actually have beef toward James Marsden. But
You
if
can
that's
say
how,
Man,
Not yet.
No,
You
but
can
if
say
that's
that.
how
We're
I
working on
meet
that.
The
James
proof is in the
Marsden, then
episode.
so be it.
How much did James Marsden pay you to say?
Not enough. Not enough.
Well, I'm really
but-
honored.
yeah.
I'm go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're fans of Zach and Steven, then you can listen to them on our celebrity pharmacology episode and find out why we do or don't like Hollywood's favorite son.
Sweetheart.
We also talked about
James
ghosts
Marsden.
walking around Bo's school, telling
Yeah.
them not to
We
drink
did.
and
We
drive.
talked
So
about
it's
every
really
15
great. Go check that
minutes,
out.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. No, I thought you meant like. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, he thought
And,
the
and
other
Zach
ghosts
is going to
that
be
walked
on a
around
couple
his school.
episodes coming soon. So
Which
you
that
can
was a
check
lot
those
of fun
out.
too. We went from really silly stuff to really deep stuff all in a matter of moments, which was a lot of fun. And to wrap this up, I'm really honored all of you guys would come hang out on our show. Before doing this podcast, 6 Seasons in a Podcast was the only community podcast that I knew about. So now to be networking with Alex and having you around is awesome. And when me and Steven started podcasting, Kevin and Ed were like the cool kids table.
Yeah.
So they
And
were
now, where are we?
Yeah, and now you're, I don't know, bottom of the barrel with us, I guess. But no, with
I get off
interacting.
campus now.
The power
so
bottom?
I don't even sit in the cafeteria.
Yeah. You started as the cool kids at the table, and now you're the power bottoms of the table.
And now we're the 23-year-olds still going to prom.
And Bo, you've been one of the coolest people that we've gotten to meet recently doing this. So I'm really glad that you guys are all here. It was a lot of fun, and season 2 of Community is great. And that's it in the can. It's done. We're done.
Right
with
up
it.
Can of
Okay.
olives.
So
5
please
cans?
check out all of these other people's shows. You know, Ed and Bo are so close to where we are in the show that it can be kind of a double commentary thing going on. And 6 Seasons in a podcast with the interviews and advanced community studies a little farther ahead. There's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of content. So check it out.
Yeah, come slurp it on up. Thanks for listening. And if you're a patron, thanks for watching.
Yes.
You saw our faces. If you want to watch stuff like this, head on over to patreon.com/ I don't
You
know.
know
Is
it? Can't Disappoint
Can't Disappoint Podcast and become part of the family.
Well, I'll be here cranking out that content until the Sony robot dogs take over. And we welcome that greatly. And that's
Come on
it.
the show, Sony dog. Come talk about it. What are your plans? How
All
do I
right,
get
now
in
we
good
go
with ya?
to just being normal people talking to each other. That was so much fun. What a great time with those guys. I love each and every one of them more than anyone.
You know, Zach, I often say things were a blast and a half. I think that deserves
Two
a
full
solid rating
blasts.
of 2 full blasts.
I blasted at least twice during that conversation, and a third time since we've been talking about it.
Oh, nice. Me too.
Yeah.
Twins.
Yeah, a smaller third blast, but a blast nonetheless.
More of a burst, really. than
That
a
was a lot of
blast.
fun, and we're wrapping it up here. It's the end of our season 2, and just a little word to the wise for you playing at home, the people that really like our show and come to it every week. On Monday, it's not going to be the season 3 premiere quite yet. You know, Steven's really just dropped the ball on this one.
I did. I dropped a big old ball of sequins.
Steven's going on a trip next week, and we're at the beginning of a season, so we're going to take just a little bit more of a pause, but there's still going to be plenty of sweet content in the meantime. So on Monday, you're going to get another bonus episode. We're going to let you in. We're going to peek behind the curtain of the Patreon paywall, and we're going to let you guys check out one of our episodes of You Can't Diss a Pre-Show instead of our typical podcast. And it was a really good one, so look for that on Monday. And also, we're going to have one more bonus episode before we return for Season 3, where we interview a little special someone, and
Yeah,
I'm very
I
much
can't
looking
wait.
forward to that too. More details to come. But we will be back for the first episode of Season 3. Now I got to pull up a calendar and decide what day it is. We will be back for the beginning of Season 3 on Monday, June 21st to talk about History 101. Super excited to dive into Season 3. It's been a while since I've hopped into it.
Yeah, I'm excited to blue skidoo all over this bad boy. I think it'll be nice to take a little, break from the show, right? In sequential order, at least. And
It's
able
good for
to
us.
kind of
We need
give
the
us
space.
Yeah,
We need
yeah,
the space. I need a break. Need
yeah.
to,
I'm over you.
play around a little bit.
I just need to taste some new flavors.
I haven't tasted anything but Steven's flavor since high school, and but before we take the next step, I just need a rum springer of sorts.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Thanks. So rum springer should be a drink.
It should.
Yes,
oh my
I'll
god,
have the rum springer.
I'd like a rum
Why
springer
do I have to put an accent on it?
on the rocks.
So this is, what is it? There's
I'll
the
have my
poetry
rum
or the
springer,
book
neat.
that starts like, so this is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but with this. So this is how season 2 of our podcast ends. Not with a bang, but with prelude to a bang. It's been a great season. I love doing the show with you, buddy.
Yeah, it's been a blast, man. It's crazy to think that we're, approaching
Podcasters.
halfway through this bad boy. But I mean that we
Yeah,
we've
we've
done
got
2 seasons of
about
this show.
6 more episodes is the halfway point of Community.
Wow,
Isn't that insane?
that's nuts.
And I'm ready to dive into it. And I want to give one more special thanks to all the people who joined us today. Make sure you go check out all of their shows. They're all lovely people. And if you haven't checked out their shows, we appear on 6 Seasons in a Podcast and the Save Greendale Committee. It's interesting how Kevin's been on our show twice now. But,
Yeah.
But we're really glad that they all joined us, and go check out their shows because they work on all that stuff just as hard as we do, and way harder than Steven does. So
It's true.
It's important to go support them, and thank you for all the support that you give us all. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm rambling. Let's wrap this thing up. Steven, where can the people find us?
Oh boy. Okay, it's been a while.
It's a late one.
You can find us on Twitter at You Can't Diss a Pod. We are on Instagram under the moniker Can't Disappoint Podcast. You can email us at
Moniker, good word.
Thank you. You can, before I say the email, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube. If you just go into that sexy little search bar and type in You Can't Disappoint a Podcast with 1 S and 2 P's in disappoint. That's how that word is spelled. I don't have to have autocorrect help me every time. Or you can go to our email and you can email us in trivia questions and cute little pictures of your bones.
Yeah, I wanted to. Wow. Send us. We'll still take your bones. We're not sending bones for your bones anymore. but we are always willing to receive unsolicited bone pics. And I want to point out, that email address, can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. You've got a little bit of time to get a head start. Send us in some trivia, your episode MVP, and your favorite funny moment. Really looking forward to diving into season 3. And that's season 2 of the show. I can't believe it.
That's a
us.
wrap.
Look at us big boys.
That's a wrap.
Maybe season 3 will become men. Probably not.
We'll see.
Signing off from inside the Dreamatorium. Black Lives Matter. Get vaccinated. Don't podcast after 10 o'clock. I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And we'll see you next time. What the f*** is that?
I didn't know. I didn't have any words, so I made that noise.
Well, we were done.
Yeah.
And now look where we are.